So we have kind of a fun question for you. Because the work deals with fantasy and reality becoming indistinguishable, we thought we'd set up a couple of fantasy scenarios for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is, what would your fantasy profession be? Or is this it?
I think in many ways there are some aspects of it that are, this is my fantasy profession.
Mhm.
I mean, in many ways, there are many, many challenging things about being a contemporary choreographer.
Yeah.
And those certainly aren't my fantasy. And there's an enormous amount of really struggling against a kind of situation where, frankly, I kind of believe that the arts every performance is a small miracle because
Yeah.
they really shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
The world isn't set up to make them happen. So there's a lot of tenacity in sort of like swimming against the stream to make the stage actually, the work come to the stage.
Right.
And that's probably true of pretty much any artwork. But in the same token, there's that magic moment of discovery in the studio that really is unrivaled.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that I can't think of anything that I really value as much as that.
Yeah.
And what it's given me as a human being, and also how it shapes how I view my place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really exceptional gift to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's balanced. It's in reality, it's not, it's never that pure thing.
Yeah.
24/7.
Right.
It's moments of that emerge in a large, spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And who, if you could choose one artist, living or dead, to collaborate with, who would you choose?
There's so many.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed with the people I'm working with right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe where I'd like to put my statement is
Mm-hmm.
sort of
In the
underlining
future.
that. And I think that that's the funny thing about reality, is that you can project about all of these people that this would be the perfect person to work with.
Right.
And I would love, and in rare instances I've actually gone out and sought those, and sometimes they've been fantastic, and sometimes the reality has actually not been anywhere near, in fact, has been some of the most difficult
Right.
collaborative relationships. So in some way, and then conversely, that regular old person who you've seen all your life and, you've had all these conversations, sometimes they can bring you something that nobody that you could ever imagine
Yeah.
would ever be able to bring you that. And I think that that's another thing, like that there are those fantasy surprises in
Mm-hmm.
the most humble of relationships.
Yeah.
And I guess I would, for one, would like to sort of place my, focus on valuing those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a fantasy world where resources are totally unlimited, what would your next project be?
My next project, I would prefer to talk about some,
Something real?
well, no. The aspects of the project that I would love would be that the people who were involved in it were paid a living wage
Yeah.
for what they do. That's something that I feel like I've spent a lot of time fighting,
Mhm.
and I'm still fighting that
Yeah.
battle, and probably will be the entire time that I am in this profession. And I think also, the other aspect of it, of the fantasy, would be economy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one of the most powerful things about art is how much it can do with how little.
Yeah.
So rather than I'm not really so interested in work that is about how many things can we drag into the paradigm to justify it. I'm really excited about work that demonstrates, look at what you can do with a paperclip. You know, that kind of, like, that simple thing that has been there all the time that we kind of took for granted, when it suddenly, the possibilities of what it can do and how it can inform this simple thing that's kind of like, pushed aside, that's one of the things that's the most exciting thing about art to me. And that goes all the way down to just like the power of body, like what an experience of just being can do to change my experience. I mean, I think that's the kind of work that I really aspire to, and I feel like I wouldn't want those values to change, even if there was a little bit more money in the bank.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So finally, we love your long title, Truth
not everybody does.
Revised Histories, Wishful Thinking, and Flat Out Lies. Can you tell our readers one truth, one lie, and one wishful thought about this work?
Oh, Lord.
You've told us a lot of truths.
Yeah. I think the true thing is, the biggest truth is, how do we tell? And sometimes it feels very clear. Like, sometimes we read, that title is all about the chunkiness of, like, this and that, and the two are not mixed together, and Revised Histories is looking back, and Wishful Thinking is looking forward in time, and there's this sense of a vectored separation of those two things. In reality, I feel like my experience is all about the muddiness of all of that, and not knowing when I'm deluding myself and when I'm imagining something that, through the imagination, I'm bringing it into reality in a way. And all of that has to do with these very crazy things like trust and faith. That are so important, and yet can really mislead us in many instances, I think. So they're powerful, but because of their power, that power needs to be respected. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but to me, I feel like in some way, when you're asking about the truth and the lie, they're all a little bit of both. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a final wishful thought for the piece?
I used to be so interested in people thinking. And I still am, in many ways. But as time has gone on, I realize that I'm also interested in people, in a plurality of what thinking means. So I want people to be engaged, and I want that engagement to take on many forms. And the pleasure of laughter is one part of it. And engaging in something, and the visceral experience of something that seems funny and suddenly becomes sad is another way of it. But there's also something that isn't emotionally based and isn't intellectually based. That's an engagement. And that kind of place of really feeling like the work took you somewhere and you're not even really fully sure where, but you're left differently. I couldn't think of anything that I would wish for more in sharing the work with the public, and so I guess that's kind of at the center of what I would aspire to have happen in the theater, both here at the Joyce and elsewhere. So.
Well, we really hope that you'll come and have that experience here next week with John Jasper's company. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
And
I'm really looking forward to it. So.
Merit.
Yeah, thank you.